Welcome to Final Fantasy II. Where do I begin? Played it. Not a fan of it. Not really a fan. Final Fantasy I, pretty cool. Solid little start of a game for the franchise, and then I compared it a lot to Zelda in that review. You know how Zelda 2 is just a completely different experience? And when you first play it, you're like, well, I don't like this. This is kind of weird. I like the first one. But then you play it through and it's pretty cool. Final Fantasy II just didn't get to that point where it got good. It was just kinda... You know what? There's a lot to say. This review's probably going to be a lot longer than the first one. Let's just get into it. I'm going to start with the good. The story, the narrative experience that comes out of this game is kind of crazy for an NES game. This whole thing is super ambitious. They went for it. They just go. They do so many things you wouldn't expect to see in an NES game. It was kind of crazy to me. Last game, characters barely had names and they didn't really talk. This game, they got names, they got personalities. You have this buff axe-wielding dude on your team who barely speaks English, and somewhere along the lines you find out he talks to animals and stuff. It's there's a real story, there's real characters here, and side characters. This is a first of many staples for the Final Fantasy series. Cid's in this game. I didn't know he was a reoccurring character, but Cid is here. I only know him from Kingdom Hearts, so I guess I will find out more about Cid later. Chocobos. I was wandering in the forest, and I found a chocobo, and I was like, oh my god, chocobos are here, this is great. So things are starting to get rolling. I guess the first game was a huge success, and they went hard with this game. It came out 1 year later. I think these still didn't come out in America yet at all. They're still in Japanese, but eventually they came around. Of course, I'm playing on the Final Fantasy Origins collection, like I played the first one. A PS1 remake on the Vita. There was a PSP remake of both of these games, which I guess maybe they're better. I didn't play them. There's interactive dialogue even. You can ask people questions about certain things that you've learned to find out more information, which might lead you down the path of where you need to go, or you'll just find out more lore. That's cool. You can give people items to see if they have anything to say. It's all really neat. Definitely the highlights for me. And I gotta say, there's not much else there, because we need to get into the battle system. First off, some of the cool things. So you have a fourth party member that switches out. There's really only 3 main cast. Firion, Gus, and Maria. The fourth guy will come and go. You'll get a new guy every now and then, and he'll add to your strategy, which is cool. I like that. You get this first guy, he's powerful, and then you lose him, and you're like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna stick to the castle. And you're like, okay, I guess I have 3 guys now. And then a fourth guy comes around and you're like, I like the other guy better. But then something happens and you realize, oh, this is how you use this character. And he melds into your team. What was that? One thing though, when they do leave, they just take your equipment. So it's kind of like, do I give the fourth guy anything strong? Because they will take it and I'll never get it back when they leave. I don't know when they're going to leave. They could just die, and I got no chance of getting that back at that point. I've been putting it off a little bit. We got to talk about the battle system, man. Whoa. Like I said, this game is very ambitious with the story and the gameplay. For better or worse, because this system was pretty awful, in my opinion. Kind of ruined the game. Let's get into it. Okay. So the idea with this battle system is that it kind of gives you the freedom to do whatever you want. The first game was, you have your role and you gotta stick to that. The mage can only learn spells. The warrior's got the strength. That's what you're doing. This game is anybody can learn any spell. Anybody can buff any stat at any time. There's no levels. There's no leveling. That's crazy. This game came out in 1988, and they were like, yeah, we're done with leveling. We're not going to do that. What? So yeah, it gives you the freedom to do whatever you want, but nothing ever feels right. When it comes to an NES game, you have to just make sure you're doing things correctly, or else you'll get to the final area and you'll just die because you're not leveled in the right stat that you wanted. Okay, so how buffing works. There's no traditional leveling system. Instead, basically, each stat is its own thing. And to upgrade the stat, you use the thing that you would use that stat for. So if you want to upgrade your attack, you swing your sword. And there's a chance you'll get a stat buff at the end of that battle. That's the first thing. Chance. You can go through an entire battle and get nothing. Because you had a chance, but it didn't happen. In the last game, every battle counted for something, even if you got a little bit of XP. But in this one, you could just get nothing. And then the next battle, you could also get nothing. That wasn't fun. It gets weirder. It gets a lot weirder. You now have the ability to cast whatever you want with any character to any character, including your own team. And this includes attacking. So you might be wondering, okay, you buff the strength by swinging. How do you buff defense? You get hit. Okay, how do you buff health? You get hit again, but the amount of damage you take increases your chance of gaining more HP at the end of the battle. And you now have the ability to use whatever you want on any of your characters, including attacks. So something I found out early on, and after Googling and everything, the thing everybody does is they beat the crap out of their own team to upgrade health and defense. It just comes along. You go into a battle with a goblin, he's not going to do anything to you. But Furion with his sword is going to beat Maria, and she's going to gain health at the end of the battle. And that's when you're like, oh no, this is what this game's going to be. Magic works the same way. The more you use magic, the more that specific spell will level up. And if you use a lot of MP, you'll gain more maximum MP. Everything's individual. And that was so awful to manage. The whole game makes you think, I'm not doing something right, I'm missing something, one of my stats is not going to work later, and I'm going to have to grind or something's going to happen. And that fear is correct. We'll get into that. I just wanted one of my characters to be like the buff guy and one to be the mage. I wanted to go back to Final Fantasy 1. By the end of the game, my buff Gus, the axe-wielding guy who can barely speak English, had the highest intelligence stat of the entire party because he had the most health. So I said, okay, give him the revive spell. He's least likely to die and he can revive everybody else. By the end of it, he was using all the magic. He used cure the most, he used life the most. He was a mage. It didn't make any sense. It was kind of funny, but I also feel like they wanted you to use magic with Maria, and she's not built for that by the end of it for me. Everything was just weird and convoluted. It was a mess. Because here's the thing with magic. Everything starts out super weak because of this battle system. You can't have the existence of just a strong spell. Every spell you get can be taught to anybody, which is cool, but it starts at a level 1, aka worthless. At any point in the game, any spell is complete garbage when you first get it. Even Cure. Cure is the only spell I had that really increased XP because, you use it all the time. If you don't use it, you die. But the spells like, fire, bolt, ice, I used them when I could, but they were always bad. Every time you use a spell, it's like 2 XP and you need 100 XP to get to the next level, and there's like 16 levels. By the end of the game, fire was level 4. And it was never doing anything to these guys. I tried to use it as most as I could. Sometimes I would run into wild battles intentionally and just use a bunch of magic. Use it on myself to maybe I'll get magic stat, maybe I'll get MP and HP and defense. Try to bulk it all together. Sometimes you get none. But either way, no matter how hard I tried, this magic was never good at all. It was always crap. It never did anything for me. And then when you get to these late game spells, I'm sure if you played any of the Final Fantasies, you might be familiar with Holy or 4. Flare, they're always end game spells that, like, they're good. They're really good. They kill enemies super quick. They're strong. They cost a lot of MP. But because of this game, every spell you get has to cost 1 MP at level 1. So you get Holy, and it's crap. And you get it late game, just like the other games. So you don't have enough time to make Holy do anything good. And you get Flare, and it's like, okay, my Fire spell is level 4. Flare balanced it in the last game because it costed more. It was harder to use. But Fire can just be used for small things. No, in this game, Flare is a direct upgrade to Fire, and my Fire that I spent the whole game leveling was worthless now. Cool! You also get this spell called Ultima, which is like the ultimate spell. You spend like, 4 different quests, I think. You gotta get an item, and another item, and another item, and then use all the items to go to another place, get the Ultima spell, and that kicks off like the end game portion. I got the Ultima spell, I taught it to my guy, it didn't do a whole lot. So I looked it up, I was like, is this the Ultima spell? Is there a gimmick? Am I not getting it here? And I found this funny little story I'd like to tell to you that kind of sums up the Final Fantasy II development cycle. Okay, it's a difficult to acquire spell, but practically useless. It was initially meant to increase its power relative to level of the other spells the caster had, but due to a bug, it just did around 500 damage at the most. Director Sakaguchi has later told a humorous story relating to the bug. When Square tested the game and saw the bug, Sakaguchi asked for it to be fixed, but the person who programmed it replied that legendary stuff that dates back to an age before proper techniques would look inferior from Present's point of view, explaining why Ultima was weak. He reasoned that the struggle to acquire it only to discover it's useless mirrors real life, and thus he was not going to fix the bug. Sakaguchi was irritated by the reply and tried to fix it himself, but the programmer had ciphered the source, and Ultima was left the way it was. So there you go, the ultimate spell is just garbage. It sums up a lot of decisions like these programmers made in this game. There's fake walls that you run into. Like you can go through walls, but there's no way to discover that at all unless you end up running into a wall and oops, it's fake. Or you had Nintendo Power, that was like the only thing. Because the level design, every dungeon is just trying to make you have as many random encounters as possible. So you'll start here and you want to get to the center, but it's just a long hallway going like that, just around to get it. But there's fake walls in some of those hallways. So instead of going like all around to get to the center, there's like a fake wall that goes right down to it. And you're never gonna know that. It's just like the developers put it in because they didn't want to bother with the long hallways. It's like in Super Mario Maker when someone makes a really hard level, but they just put a hidden block with a bunch of power-ups at the beginning because they don't want to deal with it. I was just like, what are you guys doing? What is this game? It's just a mess. I couldn't flee from a battle this entire game. I never fleed from a battle in an area I was currently exploring. Why? Because I didn't know that was attached to the agility stat. How do you upgrade that? By getting attacked, but the attacks miss. You have no control over that. I just have to wait for an attack to miss me and hope that my agility stat gets upgraded. Oh, but apparently later I found out that if you equip a shield, that makes it easier to dodge. Okay. Or you could use the spell to make yourself more evasive. No. Because that spell is level 1 and it's crap. And it misses itself. I used the spell to prevent myself from being missed. It misses. It's garbage because it's level 1. If I wanted to be level 2, I need to spend 50 battles using it. Oh god. I was like, I'm not doing that. At one point in the game, I just dropped magic. I'm like, I can't use magic outside of Cure and the occasional random spell that I need to use. Everything else is crap. They added so many spells that are so interesting to use, but they're butts to use. They're bad. To get to level 4, which is like, it's decent now, you need to use it 200 times on one character. If another character knows fire, that's another 200 times. And that's level 4. which is like 25% of the maximum power it can be. If you want it to be at all powerful, you need to grind for hours just using fire over and over before it gets good. So now you want me to use Blink, which is the evasive magic. You want me to grind that to be like level 4, just so I can use it to grind my agility stat. Just so attacks can miss and maybe I can flee battles later. Nope. I fought every battle that I encountered. I just fought everybody. Fine. This game was a rough time. Like I said, the whole game I was just wondering, I'm doing something wrong. Later on I'm gonna pay for it. I'm gonna die. I don't even know what it is. And then I get to the last dungeon and I'm just not strong enough. I just die. It's like 15 floors and I can get to floor 5. Oh, I should say though, you can save at any point in the overworld in this game. That's an improvement over the last one. You know what's not an improvement? Inventory. Items don't stack anymore. You can't just buy a bunch of potions and have like 50 potions. Every potion is 1 slot. You get like 30 slots or something. And potions don't heal you for anything, so there's no reason to carry them anymore. Even high potions to a certain degree are pointless. High potions heal like 300, I think. My guys had 3,000 health by the end of the game because we just kept killing each other, getting more health. But our MP stat was low because we didn't use enough MP. It was awful. So I didn't have enough MP to really cure myself to the way through this final dungeon. And elixirs cost $50,000 a pop. So what did I do? I just looked up ways. What do I grind? How do I get through this game? How do I get through the final dungeon? I'm so close. Found an exploit. Apparently, your attack stat doesn't buff when you hit an enemy and deal damage. It buffs when you input the command. So when you tell somebody to attack, they get a strength buff. And then it moves on to the next character and you can command them. But if you cancel and go back, he still got the strength buff. You see what I'm saying? Like, you tell him to attack, then you back out. Then you tell him to attack, then you back out. Tell him to attack. You keep doing that over and over, and you keep getting strength buffs each time you do that because it's a glitch that wasn't programmed properly like the rest of this game. So what you do is you just keep canceling and attacking for all your characters, and that's when I realized that's why my big, tough, axe-wielding guy wasn't as strong as the rest of everybody else. He was the mage because he was last on the list. Firion and Maria and then Gus. So Firion and Maria were stronger than him because I would always attack and then cancel, just thinking like, oh wait, I want to do something else. So they got, over time, way more strength buffs. That's why he was a mage, because of a glitch. Nothing I can really do about that except now I was going to grind for that last dungeon. I spent like an hour just rolling them out, just attacking, not attacking, attacking, not attacking. And eventually, I got pretty strong. I wasn't decimating everything in my path still, even after all that. I also did some grinding to up my MP to get more cure. And I spent basically all my money on elixirs. Got to the end. The final boss. Found out that you can use a certain sword and it'll do a ridiculous amount of damage. So I equipped that sword, and the final boss was a piece of cake. Ooh, and I did not feel bad about that at all because this game was a pain. It was so annoying at every turn, and I couldn't be happier to just say, nah, I'm exploiting the boss. Nah, using the blood sword. Whoosh, whoosh, 4,000 damage. I think he only has 10,000 HP, so Firion did 4,000 a pop. You're done. Bye. Bye, Final Fantasy 2. Game didn't make a lick of sense, man. And you know what? When I beat the game, credits roll. Congratulations, you've unlocked normal mode. Kidding me? The first game gave you an option, easy mode or normal mode. This game just starts. Apparently, you have to play the game on easy mode to start. Then you unlock normal mode. Hey. No. I don't even know what normal mode could be. But easy mode was a pain. That was more than enough. I'm good. Bye. Final Fantasy 2. We're done. Like, first game was so simple, so quaint, just a fun little game, fun little NES game. They went so hard in trying to make this something crazy new. It's bugged, even in this remake that I played, it's still bugged, and it's just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense in this game. I just wanted to go back to the old way. I don't know. Apparently the consensus for this game is most people, I think, kind of agree with me, but there's a couple of tryhards out there who really love it because they love grinding so much. Sure, dude, grind away. Not me. So I guess if you're looking to start Final Fantasy and you're thinking, the first game's probably janky, I'll just skip to the second one. No. Skip the second one, play the first, it's fine. I don't recommend Final Fantasy 2 to anyone. Not great. It's not great. Oh, the first game. I didn't say how long it took me in the last review. That took me like 19 hours. This game took me 30. Yeah. I guess I'm gonna play the next one now. I hope they drop this god-awful system. I hope it's done. Go back to XP. Whew. Part 3 coming soon. Probably gonna take a while. These games are gonna get longer. But we're jumping ahead, baby. I'm thinking Final Fantasy 2 is the low point and we're gonna go up. Hopefully it doesn't get worse than Final Fantasy 2. Bye!